he was killed. But how this story got seeded was by a story in the New York Times on January 8th, based on two anonymous law enforcement officials. And the New York Times reported this, that Brian Sicknick was killed by Trump loyalists, that was their term, bludgeoned to death by Trump loyalists with a fire extinguisher. So, of course, that was all the proof the media needed. So this spread like wildfire. Everyone from the Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, every cable outlet repeated it, obviously local news, every pundit, even some on the right repeated that as fact. But it turns out none of it was true. So some of us started asking questions right away. Well, where's the report? Where's the evidence that he was killed by a fire extinguisher? Didn't exist. Then suddenly I went back and looked at the New York Times reporting. All of a sudden, when they were talking about Officer Sicknick's remains being laid in state, as you'll recall, the weekend before the impeachment trial, all of a sudden they changed their tune. They didn't bring up the fire extinguisher story in their reporting. So it was sort of this subtle change over time. And then CNN, to their credit, which they don't deserve a lot, but I will give them this, they reported that these officials were saying there was no evidence that he suffered any blunt trauma. There was also no evidence that he suffered any allergic reaction to any sort of spray, like a pepper spray or bear spray. So a few of us really started hammering that. And then on February 12th, the New York Times very quietly, they called it an update, but they basically retracted the entire story and said, oh, we have updated information. And it turns out that's basically not the case. They're still investigating what happened to him. To this day, we still do not know how Brian Sicknick died, if it had anything to do with the events of January 6th. The DC Medical Examiner's Office refuses now to release the autopsy or toxicology report. What are we now? 8, 9, 10 weeks after I think maybe 9 weeks after he died. We still don't have any information. But the